right, welcome back everybody. Thank you for being here. I am pleased to be the MC for you for the next hour, and it is my great pleasure to introduce one of the most tongue-tyingly Sunday morning speakers that I've had to, that I have yet encountered in my MCing experience, extensive as though it has been. So I'm here to introduce for you this morning Jack Shaner. He is the Executive Director of the Ohio Environmental Council. And I guess it must be a Sunday morning thing that is so hard for me to say, but give it a try and you'll find that you'll say it all wrong too. Jack has been the Executive Director of the OEC for over 25 years of experience and that he brings to the OEC. The organization of the Ohio Environmental, I just don't words today, that's just where this is going to be. The mission of the Ohio Environmental Council focuses on 3 different areas: clean energy, clean water, and wilderness protection. And although Jack's comments today are going to be specific to the state of Ohio that we're in right now, I think you'll find that a lot of what he has to say are things that you can extrapolate out to your own communities, your own states, and your own projects. So please help me welcome to the stage Jack Shaner.
Everybody, how are you? It's a real honor to be here today, and I want to salute each and one of you for your activism and for your questioning of common wisdom and questioning authority. Anybody know of Stillwell Hall? Anybody know where that is? What that is? Just a couple hundred yards north of here. Stillman Hall. It's the home of the OSU's College of Social Work. There's 6 words up there at the top. Describe the top of that building: justice, freedom, democracy, knowledge, experience, happiness. And in one way, shape, or form, I think we have a room full of committed activists here, right? That is pretty much sums up probably what each and every one of us is engaged in, is striving toward. So I salute you and I support SSA. It's a real pleasure, as I say, to be here today. I want to talk with you about 3 things today. I've got a little light challenge up here. I want to talk with you about the promise of a new green century. I want to talk with you about the gray card of complacency and conformity. And I want to talk with you about the mighty power of the big red bat. You know, 53 years ago, Stuart Udall, anybody know that name? Stuart Udall? Maybe? He was President Kennedy's Secretary of the Interior. He had this to say 53 years ago: America stands today poised on a pinnacle of wealth and power. Yet we live in a land of vanishing beauty, of increasing ugliness, of shrinking open space, and of an overall environment that is diminished daily by pollution, and noise, and blight. Now that was 1963. We've made a lot of progress since then. But still, many parts of America, many parts of Ohio, many parts of the world, that landscape still, sadly, rings true. We have folded, spindled, mutilated so much of our nation, so much of the world in pursuit of development, pursuit of things, in pursuit of what we think is progress. You know, and right here in Ohio, we have clear-cut virtually all of our majestic native forests. It was said that when the Europeans first gazed upon what would become Ohio, that a squirrel could hop across the Ohio River, catch a ride somehow across the Ohio River, climb up the top of one of these majestic trees, walk all the way over to what would become Indiana and beyond, and never once touch the ground. Those days are long gone. We've cut down all of our native forests in the old, the first industrial revolution, the Iron Age, the old iron furnaces. And today we continue to cut our forests in part for pallets, wood pallets, mighty oaks, beautiful hardwoods, making pulpwood, making pallets which are just cast away into a landfill, kind of a throwaway society. We've plowed under our original prairie. Ohio was mostly forest, but we did have prairie. We had a lot of pockets of tall grass prairie. We've plowed under our prairie, we've plowed under our wetlands. We now plow the land, very productive, fence row to fence row. I grew up on a little farm. I got nothing against agriculture. We all eat because of agriculture. But we have this newfangled thing called a factory farm. This is where in airplane-sized hangars we stuff thousands of animals. In the instance of poultry, millions of birds. They can hardly turn around. They're bred so that they're, for meat production. They don't fly anymore. They're fed a diet that includes antibiotics because it's so stuffed, so crowded. And they manipulate the lighting. Can you believe they shorten the day so that it's more productive? We've drained the Great Black Swamp, northwest Ohio, drained our wetlands so that your average Joe can have a little house in a cul-de-sac. Some new millionaire can have a McMansion. But we've taken away the home of the spring peeper, the salamanders, species that can only live in fertile pools or wetlands. Drain those away in the name of the almighty dollar. And we've stripped away the land, and we've drilled deep in Appalachian, Ohio, in search of king coal and big oil. Cheap fuels, cheap because, like a crooked accountant, we don't fully account for what's called, this euphemism, externalities. Externalities, what's an example? The death, disease that come from dirty power. The asthma attacks, the heart attacks, lung disease, heart disease. This is all off the books. This isn't when you buy, we flip on the switch for electricity, that ton of coal, when we turn on our car, that gallon of gasoline, does not account for these costs. We the consumers, bear those costs. So the reality of mankind is certainly has exploited and does continue to exploit Mother Earth around the world, but even in developed nations like the United States and here in Ohio. That is undeniable. Here's something else that's undeniable. We have made significant progress, and we continue to make progress here in Ohio and around the United States. Compare this with that statement of Stuart Yourville 53 years ago. Because of the citizens that pushed for the new laws and enforcement, politicians that, to their credit, enacted them, and the scientists, the regulators, and the enforcers that make sure those laws are implemented, we're enjoying a lot of benefits, tremendous amount of benefits. If you go to our big industrialized cities, your eyes no longer sting. You no longer have the offensive smell of sulfur from unregulated factory emissions. We've taken the lead out of gasoline. When I was in high school, actually you pull up to the gas pumps and it said, lead, low lead, no lead. Today, that's a thing of the past. It's all unleaded. That is progress. The Cuyahoga River, we're going to have a national convention next week, downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio never would have been considered 1967, the year the last time, not the first time, the last time, that oily debris, toxic debris, literally caught fire in the Cuyahoga River, not some third world nation, right here in Cleveland, Ohio, right in the United States, developed nation. We've gotten on top of that. The fish species have literally returned to the Cuyahoga River. Tremendous progress. Lake Erie, we have new problems with Lake Erie. We have toxic algae. But in 1970, scientists were declaring Lake Erie a dead lake from, once again, over-nutrification. We took the phosphates out of laundry detergent. We made other improvements. We have new challenges today. But we've made just more and more examples of the progress. In just the past decade here in Ohio, we've ratified the Great Lakes Compact. We are sitting underneath these 5 Great Lakes. 1 out of every 5 gallons of fresh surface water on planet Earth is contained in those Great Lakes. But scientists say only about 1% is renewed each year by rainfall and snowmelt. So we can't just treat it like it's a limitless resource, because it is not. Only 1% renewed each year. So the Great Lakes Compact prohibits water from being siphoned away to the thirsty Southwest or the Mideast or other countries around the world. We've invested $1 billion in a special land and water conservation fund called the Clean Ohio Fund. It's a state fund that matches local efforts. We're building hundreds of miles of recreational trails. We have permanently protected and will keep in production thousands of acres of family-owned farmland, and also acquiring thousands of acres of parkland and open space for the public to enjoy. We've established a national park, 32,000 acre Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and we've become the tipping point state. A few years ago, we became the 25th state in the nation to adopt a renewable energy standard that compels our monopoly utility companies. They must, by law, invest and begin to make more of our electric power from the wind, from sun, from other clean, ever-renewing resources. There was a TV ad many, many, many moons ago, probably before any of you were born, that said this was exploiting the women's liberation movement, and said, "You've come a long way, baby." So we in Ohio and the nation, we have come a long way, no doubt. Now we got a long way to go. But here is the new century. Here's the promise of the new green century we want. We want something called complete streets. Complete streets, where we design our streets around the foot, and the bicycle, the bus, the train first, the car second. You know, we accommodate, we don't just accommodate, we put pedestrians and bicyclists first in our cities. The farmer's market is not just a weekend affair, it's a 7-day-a-week affair. Don't you want locally grown, pesticide-free, additive-free, locally grown food? Sure you do, sure you do. Where fast trains and bike lanes run next to interstates that are full of hybrid cars. We want our fuels coming from a bumper crop of ever-renewing, the wind, the sun, the tides. I say the tides. One day we will capture those waves from Lake Erie. We will make that into an energy source. This is inexorable. This is going to happen. It absolutely is going to happen. But we've got some challenges. We've got some challenges before we fully enjoy that new century. And this brings us to our second topic, the little gray card of complacency and conformity. Anybody know what an 18% gray card is? We got any photographers here today? Anybody? Yes, we do. Have you heard of an 18% gray card?
I've heard gray cards used to use it.
All right, that's exactly right. This is before we had the cameras we have today, digital cameras. You had to get your exposure just right, and so there was something called a gray card that was a card. It was gray, and so it gave you a uniform, something to meter off of to get your exposure just right. Here's what Wikipedia, that unimpeached, right? The final word in anything, right? Right? Here's what Wikipedia says: is a gray card is a flat object of a neutral gray color that derives from a flat reflectance spectrum. That sounds like something you'd read on the side of a bottle of antidepressant pills, doesn't it? Right? And that leads to the gray card of complacency and conformity and of conspicuous consumption. Think of how we have gotten so far disconnected from Mother Earth. We are now ever tuned in to that ever flickering, not the old hearth, but the supersized TV screen, to our cell phones, to our tablets. Now I got one of each. I got a big screen, got kind of a smaller TV screen. They bring us a lot of benefits, but too many of us are getting our virtual reality, getting our minimum daily requirement of stimulation, from these things. And from that gray card, we latch onto it like it's a super saver card, like a frequent shopper card, right? We go to these plastic marts, we buy. It promises us, we can feel kind of connected to the community with this, literally with the card there, the super shopper card. It promises us greater value for our dollar. If we will just give up more of our hard-earned dollars in pursuit of just buying more things. We've become so enslaved to the gray card that we're missing out. We're missing out on all the life that the natural world has to offer us. It's like a methadone. It's like it's somehow fulfilling our needs, we think. How am I doing on time here, by the way?
You've got about 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay, thank you, sir. It's a subconscious thing. It's a virtual reality thing. And yeah, it keeps us distracted, it keeps us entertained, it keeps us stimulated. Sure, on the positive side, it's a source of information. I mean, It's making our work lives much more productive. There are benefits, no question, no question. But I submit a lot of Americans, got disconnected. They don't go to the natural world. They rarely look up to the night sky. We're so cluttered with artificial lighting that we don't even see the Milky Way. Think of the cultures that existed just a few hundred years ago. They could take a glance, tell you what moon phase we're in. They could take a glance at a leaf, tell you what season we're in. They could take a glance at the foliage and tell you if we're in a drought, if we're getting too much rain, whatever. We've just become all so disconnected from that. And we're losing out, I submit, on everything that life has to offer. We want clean, unfiltered water. When my dad first took me fishing, caught a little bluegill, he didn't say, "Now son, put that right back. That thing's full of mercury." The reality is, Ohio, all the Midwest states, many, many states in this nation, there is a standing fish consumption advisory, advising you to eat no more than 1 meal a week of any fish species caught from almost any waterway in America a month. Sometimes no more than one a week. One a week, sometimes no more than one a month. Why? Because of mercury contamination. Where does the mercury come from? It's completely widespread. It comes from the air, comes from emissions from coal burning power plants. And somehow we're complacent to this. We just accept this, right? Why do we accept that? Why are we allowing our precious natural resources owned by we the people to be defiled by a handful of investors who make a profit out of exploiting or poisoning our resources? We should not put up with this. We should not put up with this. So we have a distraction, this gray card of complacency, conformity. It's very subliminal. It's sort of like, everybody remember that photograph of Chris Christie, New Jersey governor, ran for president unsuccessfully. And soon after he dropped out, he appeared on stage with Donald, and he had this faraway look in his eyes, right? Remember that? Kind of vacant, staring far off. There was some funny messages, blink twice if you're there, Chris. We want to help you. But I acknowledge this what I'm calling the gray card. It's got a deep taproot. You can cut that plant off, got a deep taproot, or it'll just pop back up. And why? It's understandable. I mean, think of the millions of dollars in messaging, advertising coming at you. You need this. You got to buy this. You got to have this. Even though you may throw it away in a few years, or it breaks down, you throw it away in a few years. It reminds me of this bumper sticker, and it's got a TV screen. It's got somebody with the eyes that kind of look like Chris Christie, vacant. It says, "Why do you think they call it programming?" So there are forces, absolutely. There are reasons why we've become subliminally kind of servile to the gray card of conformity, complacency, and conspicuous consumption. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that we are going to strive. We're going to get to that big green century. We're going to throw off this shackle. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take all this in this room and more. But I'll tell you why I'm optimistic. Why I'm optimistic. And this brings me to my third and final topic: the mighty power of the big red bat. And this is a force, the mighty force of the big red bat lives in each and every one of us. It's a force that I've tapped. It's the force that you can tap. It is a force that can help you equalize the power of the big recalcitrant forces, the big not so concealed gray card carrying forces of denial of climate change, or fill in the blank, denial change, human rights, civil rights, whatever cause each of you may be engaged in. So just insert your cause here, be it the environment or whatever. But this is something that can help you equalize. I want to tell you a couple stories. A couple stories from experience. Experience is the toughest teacher. First she gives the test, then she gives the lesson. So learn from the hard knocks of School of Hard Knocks. I'll start with a personal story about myself. And it's a little uncomfortable telling you this because it's a story where I just absolutely failed. I didn't just fail, I choked, I froze. This is a few years ago. I was a lad growing up in the bucolic sounding village of Pleasantville, Ohio. Population 700. We weren't even in the village. We were right on the edge of a tiny farm. This is about 40 miles from here. And Pleasantville, I was on the Little League team, but I wasn't on the first string. I was on the second string. Somehow I had a good day of practice and hitting, and so they called me up to the big team. Here I am, you know, in the playoff game. I was called up as a pinch hitter, and I'm standing there, strike one. Wow, that went fast. And there's a couple balls, and another strike, and then strike three. And I never took that bat off my shoulder, I'm sorry to say. I didn't swing the bat. Don't make that mistake. You may ground out. You may fly out. You may strike out, but go down swinging. Go down swinging. And the more you swing, the better you're going to get. I tread the halls of our Ohio Statehouse, talking with the lawmakers. Should have seen the first time I ever testified. Shaking like a leaf. But if you do it, keep doing it, you're going to get better. Story 2, the June Lucas story. June Lucas was, excuse the expression, what they called a housewife, homemaker, Cincinnati, Ohio, 1980. Terrible tragedy. Her daughter was struck and killed by a drunk driver. June Lucas didn't know anything about the Statehouse. She went totally out of her comfort zone. She came up to Columbus. She'd never been there. By the time she was done, 2 years later, she knew every lawmaker, every reporter, every staffer, and she helped push a major law change. But you had to spend 3 days in jail or an alcohol rehab course if you were convicted of drunk driving. Major sea change in Ohio. Story number 3, I want to tell you here quickly, if I can find my note here. The legend of the Homosassa Springs. Peggy, my significant other, and I often go down at the end of the year, a couple weeks camping along the Gulf Coast. We went to a wildlife park in Florida, the Homosassa Springs, where the manatee come in and winter over. We went to a nature talk, and the ranger asks us, hey, what's the #1 threat to the manatee? And we all said, well, the motorboat, hit them and kill them. No, it's gobbling up the developed land. They're gobbling up their habitat. The natural coastlines are being converted now to shopping malls and into housing tracts. And what's the #1 obstruction? I raise my hand. Oh, that's easy. It's the home builder industry. He says, you're wrong. It's you. Me? I'm a card-carrying enviro. It's you and you and you and you. All you people that are letting the lobbyists, for the home builders, for the industrialists, feeding your lawmakers a junk food diet. You're not giving them, enough balanced diet. You, the people, need to raise your voice. So in conclusion today, as my time expires here, use that big red bat, the power of that big red bat. It will help you when you're out of your comfort zone. It can be a big equalizer against those special interests. It will give you the courage and the strength to keep going in your quest for justice, freedom, democracy, knowledge, experience, happiness. Thank you so much.